What's up, everyone? Nathan coming at you on midnight, November 18th. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet literally just dropped, but I don't really care, to be honest, because the new generation also just went live on the Pokemon Showdown server 4 hours ago. And I'm here to give you insight on all the little things I've been learning playing it tonight because I'm already kind of obsessed. I figured the games aren't going anywhere. I'm sure I'll play them and love them when the time is right, but this metagame is really fun right now, and I'll make sure to play it as much as possible when I've got the chance. I also want to relay some of this information I've already learned to you all. Before I get going into the video though, two quick disclaimers. Number one, if you're sensitive to spoilers in this game at all and don't want anything given away, then please don't watch this video because I'm going to be talking about all the new Pokemon quite freely. Number two, due to this being a literal day one video on the metagame, I'm sure this will quickly become rather outdated. In situations like these where there's no way to judge what is OP that's new and what isn't, the OU Council normally just drops everything on the community all at once, lets them figure it out. They'll start to drop quick bans later on once the meta becomes a little bit less murky. So hell, even a week, this video could be chocked full of maybe not inaccuracies, but ideas that are outdated. But I'm just gonna call it like I see it until then. First things first, let's talk about the UI, because while I was streaming tonight, that was the #1 question I received at least 20 times, surprisingly. First of all, to find the Gen 9 overused tab, you're just going to click here and select it in the top left of the metagame selector. Earlier in the night, it was located over here in the right column. And again, it might get shuffled around even more by the time this video goes live, but just look for it and I promise it's there. Also, and this isn't an important one, but in order to decide your Pokemon's terrestrialization typing, you need to go over to this tab where you normally select its gender, level, and shiny settings. There you can choose your terrestrialization, which is then activated in battle underneath your move selection. I'll also mention that if you're looking for Pokemon Home transferable Pokemon like Landorus or Charizard, then you're going to be disappointed. These Pokemon are not going to be included in Showdown until they get added to the main games, as far as I know. And the same goes for all Hisuian Pokemon and forums, so save your Sneasler builds for then, sadly. Second tip, and this is going to be the most long-winded one of all these I'll break down, but offense is truly king in this metagame. To be more specific, there are so many wildly overpowered Pokemon in the metagame right now, you're shooting yourself in the foot if you play anything but hyper offense. It's funny, in the entire lead up into this game's release, I've talked about nothing about my fear on how overpowered terrestrialization is going to be. But at this point, when every third Pokemon has 130 speed, huge attacking stats, and a ridiculous ability, terrestrialization is kind of like the last thing I'm worried about right now. And I'm sure this is going to change once the meta settles, as terrestrialization's main benefit is like zigging when your opponent expects them to zag. And again, it's already really good, but right now I just see it as like the icing on an absurdly offensive cake, if that makes sense. I think it's going to get a lot worse once this offense is tamped down with bans and shit like that. And again, once the metagame settles, I still stand by my points, to be clear, on why I'm afraid about it. But right now, it's not even like the main thing I'm worried about in a battle at all. Back to my original point about how crazy offense is right now, the Paradox Pokemon in particular are powerful enough to completely overshadow the last generation's top tiers. That could mean that all of last generation's Pokemon could be demoted to the underused tier, or it could just mean more likely that the Paradoxes get banned to Ubers. There's no real way for me to say for sure though, but yeah, it's a huge power gap to say the least. Although even beyond the Paradox Pokemon, there's still a truly like absurd amount of Pokemon that are just really powerful threats that could make kind of any defensive team untenable. I mean, let me put it this way. Meowscarada, who is the new grass type starter, has 123 speed, Protean, godlike ability, and essentially a grass type Wicked Blow, and nobody cares. It's just fits in fine. Like, this would have been insane in the previous iteration, but here we're like, all right. With this emphasis on hyper offense in mind, it's my recommendation you build teams with suicide leads that can set screens or hazards, and balance your team with wall breakers, setup sweepers, and endgame cleaners. Although at this point, everyone is so strong that maybe you can just get away with purely cleaners. You don't need the rest of that shit. Who knows? This also means though that anti-hyper offensive Pokemon like Ditto or unaware users and even priority users are also very good right now. And one final note on the abundance of offense is the nerfing of Stall. I don't think this is really a big deal because I don't think Stall has been good in previous iterations, and there's no way it was ever going to keep up with how it is right now. But I just wanted to rattle off a few things because it's a big point on everyone's lips right now. So yes, recovery moves like Roost and Recover did get nerfed and have half the PP as before, so you can't spam it over a 200 turn game for the millionth time. I don't think that's really possible with the current meta, but you never know. And no, as far as I can tell right now, this is important, I don't believe Regenerator got nerfed. It didn't get nerfed from 33% down to 25% like suggested. I've tested this a bunch on my end, so maybe it's a Pokemon Showdown glitch, Maybe I'm stupid and my math is wrong or something, but it's still a third of your health back on every swap. But finally, the final thing in the nail in Stahl's coffin, so to speak, though, is Scald. This is essentially removed from the game right now, which does hurt bulky waters a ton. So to reiterate, PP and recovery moves did get halved. Regenerator did not get nerfed. And Scald is out, yes. But in summation, yes, offense is king. Stahl kind of ate it. Let's move on. Third piece of advice, and this is a bit of a piggyback off my last point, but get to know your Paradox Pokemon right now. These guys are king as it stands, and a lot of the teams you'll play against are themed around them since they're so broken and since they all usually have the same ability. The Paradox Pokemon are split between the Quark Drive Pokemon and the Photosynthesis Pokemon, and how they work is Quark Drive Pokemon are given a 1-stage boost to their highest stat when electric terrain is active. So that means if you have an Iron Moth with an insane 416 base attack and a choice specs, well, giddy up, because it's pretty much got a special Guerrilla Tactics too. Like, it's just that broken. Or you could even intentionally lower its attack stat quite a bit, so the speed stat is now the highest and it gets boosted instead. Once again, whatever's the highest stat is the thing that the ability boosts. The same goes for Photosynthesis Pokemon though. But instead of electric terrain, their ability is instead activated by sunny day or drought abilities. Both Quark Drive and Photosynthesis are active as long as their respective terrain or weather is up. However, if you don't want to use a terrain or weather setter, you can also activate Photosynthesis or Quark Drive with an item called Booster Energy, which works once on swap in, and then it's gone afterwards, but it still gives the Paradox Pokemon the appropriate boost. This item is also useful against enemy Dittos, because instead of copying whatever terrain or weather is active, it instead just takes advantage of the item, which Ditto can't do because it's always running a Choice Scarf. So it's a bit of a Ditto beater in that sense too. And it's also worth noting that even if you've used your booster energy and it's being spent already, Quark Drive and Photosynthesis can still be activated by electric terrain and sunny day if it's active as well. Which pretty much covers the basics of these Paradox Pokemon. And again, this might become moot pretty quickly because again, these Pokemon are a little ridiculous right now. In particular, from my experience, Roaring Moon, Great Tusk, and especially Fluttermane are super broken right now, and they're the main drivers of most wins I've seen in the ladder. Next up, let's talk about pivoting moves. Now, if you played much Gen 8, then you probably know that that was a generation defined by all the amazing Definity moves available in the game. That gen has so much teleporter spam, or boots, or regenerator, all that stuff, that many will be glad to hear that teleport is essentially non-existent in Scarlet and Violet, with the exception of the Gardevoir line. But what if I told you that even with teleport gone, the two best pivoting moves ever just got added into the game? First up, let's talk about Slowking's new unique move, Chilly Reception. This move is just so crazy. I don't really know where to start. So, well, yes, Slowking did lose teleport. It instead gained this new move, which forces a pivot, same as teleport did, and summons the new weather, Snow. Snow is pretty much the reverse Sandstorm weather that people have been begging for so long. It boosts the defense of Ice-type Pokemon while it's active. I'll be honest, I've been digging around all night and I can't find much on the weather beyond that. Like, I'm pretty sure there's no unique interactions with Snow yet, which includes abilities like Ice Body and Slush Rush. I don't think there's much beyond it besides the defense boosting quality of the weather. It certainly doesn't chip opponents like Hail used to do, but even despite all this, it's still a really good feature to have because it limits all the sunny day that is right now so common in the ladder right now because of all the Photosynthesis Paradox Pokemon that are running the show. Oh my god, that was hard to say. Photosynthesis Paradox Pokemon. Photosynthesis Paradox blah, blah, blah. Although it's funny, earlier I was streaming and I was telling a viewer that I normally don't love weather setting moves like Sunny Day or Rain Dance because it loses you so much momentum. You gotta swap in, you gotta use the move, and then swap out to your appropriate weather sweeper and hope they stay in. Ideally using a pivoting move so you can use the right one. It just uses a crazy amount of turns for not so much momentum, especially when you compare it to just automatically setting it from a Torkoal or a Pelipper, right? But Chilly Reception, this new move, I mean, it shits on all of that, if we're being honest. A pivot move that is the weather, and on a slow Pokemon like Slowking that is guaranteed to have the second move always, so it pretty much negates the lost reverse priority of teleport, if you understand what I mean by that. So it's crazy. It's obviously so crazy. You now have an absurd amount of weather control with just that one move alone. And even if you don't have any ice Pokemon on the team, you go, you know what? I can't afford an ice type Pokemon. Oh no. It doesn't matter. It's kind of just insane to deny your opponent's weather with just your pivoting move that you were going to mash anyways. But even despite Chilly Reception being busted, it still doesn't hold a candle to Cyclozar's pivoting move, Shed Tail. And you know, I'm not going to say too much about this move because I'm planning to make a video on it literally tomorrow. But long story short, I think it's a top 3 move in Pokemon history. Is that a hot take? I don't think it will be before long. It's that good. And Cyclizar is perhaps the perfect abuser of it too. But onto my 5th and final point here is that if you're trying to be ready for the new generation of the ladder, you got to be ready to learn about a whole new whack of weird shit. And by what I mean by that, I'm going to just take you through some of the early ones that come to mind. I could do this for an hour. It could be its own stream or video or whatever. But there's just a lot of new crazy shit you got to keep in mind when you're playing teams of the ladder. For example, Gallade now has Sharpness, which boosts slicing type attacks. So Psycho Cut and Sacred Sword, its main forms of stab, get a 50% boost. Sacred Sword is now, what, a base 135 power fighting type attack? That's crazy. With no benefit, ignores the stat changes, also has better coverage moves like Night Slash and Leaf Blade. Absurd. Grimmsnarl now has a priority parting shot. Yeah, that's a thing. Glamora is a random new Pokemon that has 2 amazing abilities, Toxic Debris, which spreads toxic spikes around the attacker when it's hit, but also Corrosion, which is amazing. So if you want a Suicide Leader, oh, and sorry, also very important, it also has Toxic Spikes, and Stealth Rocks as available moves. It also has really good stats. So this is like an amazing Focus Sash Pokemon, honestly. You can hit them with any number of different abilities. To get Meteor Beam, it better. I swear to God, it better. Don't make me come down there. Okay, it doesn't, thank God. But this is just an amazing Suicide Lead if you're looking for something new. And we've also got Palafin here, which is a pretty weak looking Pokemon. It's got a good speed stat, I guess. Oh, it's got Flip Turn, that's good. So you Flip Turn, you pivot out, and you activate its 0 to Hero ability. 0 to Hero is essentially just Wishy-Washy, where you transform into a much more powerful form of yourself. However, instead of having a very difficult and weird activation requirement like Wishy-Washy did, again, you just swap out and it's done. So you can just lead the game with this guy, with its high base stat, pivot out with Flip Turn, and it automatically transforms into Palafin Hero. Palafin Hero is, let's just look at the stats. I mean, what more do I gotta say? Yeah, those are real. Oh yeah, those defensive stats that are, I think, higher than Corviknight's. Yeah, those are real. Oh, those offensive stats, like the 106 special attack is nothing to sneeze at, but these stats, yeah, those are real. And oh, it's got Flip Turn, yeah, because of course it does. Oh, it's got this new move, Wave Crash, with 120 physical power, a Water type Flare, but yeah, of course. Oh, and you know Aqua Jet, really good move, base 40 power, kind of a Water type quick attack. It's great, right? What if we made it 50% stronger in a signature move of this Pokemon? So yeah, I think you guys are going to be seeing a lot of this guy in the ladder. Oh, he's also got close combat coverage. Its move pool isn't fantastic, but close combat coverage is kind of all you need. Am I wrong for saying that? And you got Tinkaton here. Tinkaton, Fairy Steel, so most people should already be having alarm bells going off when you see that typing. But stats are, its speed's functional. It's okay, right? Well, let's take a look at this little move called Gigaton Hammer. Cannot be used twice in a row, but it's not like a Hyper Beam. It just means you can't spam it 4 times in a row. 160 power. So for reference, that's about 33. So if this guy with max attack has the same EV investment, the same nature and all that stuff as a Bisharp, like a perennial insane offensive Pokemon, right? If they have the same investment and all that shit, Gigaton Hammer still does about 30% more. So it's just a really strong breaking move. Oh, it's Fake Out too? And Ice Hammer, that's hilarious as Ice Hammer, of course it does. I kind of in love with this mon, this is hilarious. And then the Golden God, I think this is my new favorite Pokemon ever. I have nothing to say except it's immune to status moves and it has an ability called Make It Rain, which is a steel type trick. I just love it. He's the Golden God, but I think I'll leave it there. Honestly, I could do this all night, and I think I'm going to learn myself. I'm going to learn more crazy interactions that exist on this new generation as it stands right now, and I can't wait to. My point being is put your thinking cap, your learning cap on, and just keep it firmly in place as long as possible, because it's going to be a rocky road learning this new metagame. Other than that, those are my 5 tips out of the way. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll catch you next time. Take it easy.